Thank you. Now, Bob Geldof is with us this morning. Bob, thank you so much for coming in. It's
Thanks.
So good to see you. And really, on behalf of everybody, I just wanted to say how sorry we are for your loss. It's just been a hellish time. And yet, somehow, you know, I remember at the time you said your family was fractured, but not broken. And somehow you just keep going.
Well, there's not many options.
No.
It's intolerable. It's very hard, as everybody must realise, especially if it happened to them too. And then what else do you do? You get on with it.
And everybody deals with grief in different ways. And your way, actually, is not surprising. It's through music. It's through going back to what you love to do.
Well, as you say, I've always done that. And being on stage is entirely cathartic. It just clears your head. I mean, just before we came on, I was talking to, you know, one of your producers and you know, the guy I work with doing telly and stuff, and they were saying for years they've done yoga and that, and I can't get my head around that at all.
No.
You know, but they said, no, it's wonderful. Your chakras are aligned next, you know, and stuff like that. And I just get on a stage and go mad. And if I dwell on the words sometimes, I find it hard to struggle through the song because they take on whole meanings that I never meant when I wrote them.
In what sort of way?
There's a song we had, it was a big hit, the Rats had, called Diamond Smiles. It was the one after I Don't Like Mondays, and it was a very big hit. And I was writing about a girl I read about in one of the papers. She was a socialite. And she went to, you know, a posh party. It was only a small item, but it stuck with me. And she went to a party, and she went upstairs, and she hanged herself during the party. And it was a tiny little piece. And I think that somebody said, oh, she was the brightest of diamonds. And I called the song Diamond Smiles. And, you know, if I really think about those words, and usually I'm in that song, in the zone of that song, if I really think about it, it's too bizarre. It's too telling, whether it's about Paula or now whether it's about peaches and stuff like that. And but other than that, you know, you're on stage and you're just going for it, and you know, you're so engaged in this moment. You're so aware of a crowd but not, you're aware of the band but not, and you're just lost in this moment, probably like the yoga thing that they've been going on about. And when I come off stage, I mean, I'm physically exhausted and mentally clear.
And being exhausted physically, you can sleep?
Yes,
because I would imagine
sleep.
you've not been getting much sleep.
I'm all right. I don't sleep that much anyway, or that well anyway. Yeah, I mean, you know, the default position for me as a person is, right, things have to be organised, and I go into organisational mode, and that distracts me. But like anybody else, these things assault you without warning. You could be talking to someone, you could be walking down the road, and I've got to be very careful because this is still very raw. I mean, the reason I'm here is obviously not to talk about that, but, you know, we'll come to that later. But, you know, I'm walking down the road and suddenly, out of the blue, there's an awareness of her. And, you know, I buckle. And I've got to be very careful because, you know, sort of walking down the King's Road, there's paps everywhere, so I have to duck off into a lane or something and, you know, blub for a while and then get on with it, and that's it, you know. So I'd imagine that'll be there for a long time. I mean, what else? But I mean, if I may, and I don't want this to be a blub fest, and I don't want to be emoting on television or getting too much into it, but as you say, you can imagine it. It is unimaginable at the same time. But let me just immediately say that we were overwhelmed by people writing to us in the kindest way, unimaginably, you know, just obviously complete strangers, but who felt it. And the nice thing about that was that, you know, this young girl had made such an impact, especially on her generation.
Yeah.
You know, when the Rats got back together, I'm not trying to steer us around to that, but when the Rats got back together last year and we went out on tour, I don't do sound checks because they bore me to death. And I was walking around Leeds. I like to walk around the towns I'm in, you know, go down to the areas that are not normally visited and just wander around and have a look and see how people are living and coping and that. And people would come up to me and say, "You're Peaches Geldof's dad, aren't you?" And, yes. You know? But I liked it. I liked being, you know, Peaches Geldof's dad.
But the whole family looking forward to it. You getting married? Is that going to happen? We read that it might.
Well,
maybe.
Well, what'll happen? I mean, I was going to ask her to marry me. Call me hasty, call me rash, call me Mr. Impetuous,
yes.
But after 20 years, I decided I'd rush into things.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it anyway on her birthday.
Right.
And she never, I mean, I love her to bits and she's amazing, and I certainly wouldn't have got through the last 20 years. It's just...
Yeah.
Without her. And so, you know, she never hassled me or anything like that, but I just thought, you know, I'll do this thing, you know, and hey, how lucky she is, you know, how lucky she is, let's face it. I mean, you know, so, and then Peaches died and things were very bleak. And there was, I thought, how do we move forward? I don't mean move on. As I say, time doesn't heal, it accommodates, it finds an available space in your brain, and you can sort of stick that part in there and allows you to see things in context. And I didn't want to rush it or anything, but I was going to do it anyway, and I thought, well, no, I shouldn't. Then I thought, no, you know, we need to let some air into the room. We need to let some light into that air.
Yeah.
The wedding thing, I mean, if it happens, it'll have to happen before we do this tour that I'm supposed to be announcing today.
I know, and the tour, so you'll need to get that sorted out by October, because that's when it's all...
Well, she can sort it out. Like, I'm sick of arranging things, you know.
Okay, she can do that side of it,
yeah,
it'll be fine.
And you know, but I don't know where it'll be or whatever, but it'll be small and it'll be some mates and it won't be a big issue.
No, but it's special, it makes it special. It just makes it proper.
Even though it'll be a small vibe and it'll be with all the family and stuff like that and her family and everything, it'll be a great day. And but it served its function beyond me, you know, telling her I loved her and demonstrating that and acknowledging.
And will you actually sing at your own wedding, Bob?
No, but I hope she does, because she's got an amazing voice.
She was at Glastonbury.
She was at Glastonbury with Jerry Hall, who's her great friend, our great friend. It'll be great. But if it's not October, it'll be next year, spring. There's
sure
no urgency.
And are you ready, sort of physically and mentally, for this tour? Are you ready for it? Do you feel that?
Well, we're doing the festivals right now.
Right.
I mean, tonight we'll be doing Chill Fest, because, hey, I'm chilled.
You are.
And, you know, that's great. Last weekend we did a couple, and tomorrow night we're doing Whitehaven up in the northeast. And I love doing them. I mean, well, you know, for 40 years I've been playing music. I love it. Particularly I love playing live, because it's well, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't a great band, so you'll have to take that as a given. I think not only did I rediscover the Rats, were a great band. You never get it when you're a kid. You just grow up with these guys, then you just form a band, and that's your thing. But with the gap of time where I played solo stuff and we got back, I hadn't realised quite how, you know, unapologetically I say how great a band it is. I mean, we kill 'em. And in the last, you know, 6 months we've been doing it, we've taken on all comers from the most famous to whatever, and, you know, blown them out the stage. Excellent.
Excellent, excellent. It's good to see you in good form, actually, because everybody has been so worried about you, because you've been through such a lot.
Well, I think, you know, when we show up at the gigs and there's me wigging out as usual and the band giving it plenty, I mean, it sort of goes... You know, the problem is, Lorraine, that for 40 years, for good or ill, the family has been sort of part of the national soap opera. I never expected that.
Yeah.
And, you know, people kind of think they know us, and to some extent they do know part of it. And bizarrely, and I wish it were other, from the very get-go, my life seems incredibly episodic, like a soap opera. And I'm never aware I'm in the next scene until something happens and I'm already in the middle of it and there's no getting out of it. You have to move on to the next scene, whatever that is. And the response to events that happens always takes me by surprise, but I have the get out that I play with a great band. I mean, I don't want to keep hitting on this, and in October we'll go out to all these very cool places in the UK, these great cities where, you know, people somehow seem to think that they're involved in our life. It's the weirdest sensation. I know they think that about you because they've grown up with you.
Yeah, I guess so.
But they know very little about you.
No, that's true. And it's interesting what you say about a soap opera, because you know, you're all real human beings. You know, you've got two wee grandsons that you need to let them know what your daughter was really like, because when they grow up and they go into the internet, you know, that you're going to have to, that's going to be part of what you're going to have to do, isn't it? To let them know what she was like and how much she loved
I think
them.
they're too young. My mum died when I was 6 or 7. I've no memory of her. But as you say, the world has moved on. I look at, I'm shown photos. I really have no interest in that much because I've no memory of her. And when there used to be a show called This Is Your Life.
Yeah.
And I did that, and they had a cine film of me with my mum. And I was looking at that and I thought, that young girl is my mum. And I thought, that's odd, because it was like a stranger was my mother. And then I saw this little chap, same colour hair as now, who was 3, and she was putting him down a sand dune on a tartan rug, and I thought, that's me. But I had no connection with that infant either. And so I don't really remember her, and I'm not sure that they're so small, the little chaps, that I'm not sure that they'll have this craving to remember their mum, and I think that's healthy. You know, they're young enough, you know, this terrible expression, to be able to build emotional relationships away from the primary relationship with the mother. I know that sounds very cold and empirical, but obviously I've had to think about it, and so have the rest of the family, and Tom, their dad, and, you know, Keith and Sue, their grandparents, who are amazing people and, you know, doing fantastically with the guys. So, yeah, as I say, I don't want them becoming wrapped up in the Geldof life. You know, it's great in some respects. It's appalling in other times and things. But I can dance away free on tour and stage. I've got this great get out, and as I say, often you don't hear that in the music, but maybe you hear it in the ferocity, in the way the music's delivered, maybe the anger at that, but also certainly you can hear the joy that it brings.
Bob, it's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you. You're an inspirational man, and again, I'm just very sorry for your loss.
Thanks.
And I think what you're doing and how you're coping with it is absolutely astonishing. And I wish you all the best for everything that you do, for the tour, especially for the wedding. And I need to give you a hug. I do need to give you a hug.
Not a meaningful girl hug. I'm sick of people giving me meaningful hugs. Women go like this. Come here, let me give you the men go. And then they keep getting stronger. It's not enough, and you're kind of, but girls go like this. And then they push you aside and look at you to tell you I really mean it.
Well, I really do. Thank you, love.
Okay,
Thank you
love,
very much
thank you.
indeed. We'll take a quick break now.